Alert! You are attempting to view the file on SCP-001. This file is highly classified, and its contents are sealed by the order of the O5 Council. By continuing to view them, you are confirming that you have received prior authorization. If you are found to be viewing these materials without adequate clearance, you will be terminated. If you choose to accept these risks and verify your credentials, access will be granted in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The following is a truncated summary, based on transcripts from an official meeting of the O5 Council. You have been warned. O5-1 sat at a conference table, addressing his colleagues. All of the other council members looked at him expectantly, except one. "Hello, everyone," O5-1 began. "I'm sure you're all wondering why 13 isn't here today. I'll get to that, but I first want to publicly address something I'm sure you've all noticed by now. After talking to you for the past week or so, I've noticed that we've all been inducted onto the council almost at the exact same time. All of us except 13, that is. In fact, 13 probably conducted your orientation." The other council members nodded. "That's good to know that it wasn't just me," O5-2 commented. "I would have expected the last two to run me through things." O5-1 sighed. "Indeed. In fact, I asked 13 about it, but he refused to say much. Of course, he pled ignorance, but I don't believe that. As you might guess, the previous 12 O5s did not retire at the same time. They were killed. In fact, this building isn't even the original Site-01. That was destroyed. I think you can see where this is going." O5-3 frowned. "So, we have a dead O5 council, a missing Site-01, and somehow none of this is on our records. And only one suspect," piped up O5-2. O5-1 held up a hand, drawing attention back to his words. "I would like to designate O5-13 as one of our SCP-001 projects. Of course, this will be kept secret from him, but we need to investigate this entire ordeal until we figure out what happened, how it happened, and why O5-13 is the only one left standing." After the aforementioned conference, O5-13 was designated SCP-001. SCP-001 is a male human of Latin American descent, standing at approximately 1.9 meters tall. The exact nature of this entity and the anomalous properties he possesses are not yet known. He was given his anomalous classification following the Caesar incident, an event that resulted in the death of all previous O5 council members, aside from 13, the complete eradication of the previous Site-01, and the loss of any official documentation on 13 or his appointment to the council. SCP-001 is contained in a modified containment facility constructed similarly to other Foundation sites, with the exception of additional living arrangements for the members of the Overwatch Council. The facility is equipped with state-of-the-art security cameras, as well as 3 nuclear warheads intended as failsafes. These will detonate if SCP-001 breaches containment. One designated member of the Council is to be given amnestic drugs on a regular basis, and maintain official documentation of all information gathered about SCP-001. This council member will be referred to as the Archivist, and will hold the position for approximately 4 months at a time, though they may terminate their duties sooner if the amnestic side effects prove too detrimental to their health. When a council member's time as the Archivist comes to a close, they must conduct a meeting to assess what they have learned. O5-1 was appointed to the role of inaugural Archivist, and several months later, a second conference was called. One of the subjects discussed was a series of interviews conducted with survivors of the Caesar incident. Though several members of personnel made it out relatively unscathed, they had no memory of the incident at all, and their interviews were unfortunately of no help. During the events of the conference, O5-10 revealed that he had recovered a copy of the previous O5 personnel dossier. It included an entry that described O5-13's purpose on the council, stating, "O5-13's special connection to the anomalous gives him a perspective no other council member could begin to fathom." While normalcy confirmation meetings require 11 members for quorum, no meeting is allowed to proceed without O5-13's attendance. In addition to this entry, there was a table recording O5-13's various anomalous property measurements. Perplexingly, his appearance, temperature, skeletal structure, corporeality, and induced emotional states were all found to be within the baseline of normality. The remainder of the conference was designated to deciding the next steps for a series of specialized teams looking into the Caesar incident, SCP-001's origin, and the entity's anomalous properties. 05-8 was selected as the next archivist, and the meeting disbanded with a new sense of purpose. The Caesar incident team managed to identify the geographical location of the previous Site-01 by searching for records of unusual seismic activity on the date of the incident. Earthquake records led them to an island off the coast of Greenland, where the remains of the site were waiting. An investigative team attempted to search the island, but was prevented from exploring the ruins by representatives of the Global Occult Coalition, who demanded they leave immediately. Investigation into the presence of the GOC on the island turned up a curious connection. Their representatives had spoken with 05-13 before setting up an outpost there. Meanwhile, the Origins investigation team looked into records of 05-13 at various groups of interest. Reports were conflicting and difficult to parse, and the team brought their findings to the third conference. Notice from 05-8. Conference number 3 was cut short after an intense exchange led to enough people leaving the meeting for us to lose quorum. We archived all the materials covered up to that point, as well as the efforts made to de-escalate tension between the members. However, this also means that information herein was not properly vetted by the entire council before being uploaded. So we erred on the conservative side. If you need to see the full proceedings, please contact the current archivist. Before the premature adjourning of the conference, the following conversation took place. 05-1. Excuse me for, I believe some clarification regarding the exchange with Marshall, Carter, and Dark is necessary. How so? It mentions here that you performed an exchange. It is important for the records and for our general information security that we know exactly what information was exchanged. Yes, that does make sense. I'm sorry. I did not write that section of the report. If my memory serves me well, 7 was responsible for the Marshall, Carter, and Dark reconnaissance. Well, 7, could you elaborate? 05-7 looked at 05-1 and swallowed. You know, the rules are pretty tight on this. Why did you give them anything in the first place? Yeah, 11 makes a good point. Don't we have our own spies working some of the transport routes? 05-7 nodded and then began going through her belongings. Could you at least tell us what kind of information you gave them? 05-7 paused, thought to herself for a moment, and then motioned to the entire council. Wait, you gave them information about us? 05-7 shook her head, paused again, and then nodded her head yes. She held up a finger and then went back to looking through her files. But that's... No, I don't believe this. We can't let people know about us no matter the situation. Imagine if word got out that the old council had been killed. I bet cults across the planet would have a heyday. I doubt she said anything actually important. Oh, really? I've only dealt with the merchants once or twice, but they know how to appraise anything, especially information. 05-7 held up an index finger and then continued looking through her files. Are you just going to ignore the issue then? Just gonna hang us out to dry? 11, you need to calm down. We're all waiting on you! 05-7 looked up at 05-11 and then put her files away. She gathered her things and left the room. Ha! Can't take being called out, I see. 11, I will need to speak with you following this meeting. You can talk to me now, I'll be in my office. 05-11 left the room. 8, I'd like to go after 7 to make sure she didn't actually do something stupid. That's fine, I believe that would drop us below quorum. But I believe this meeting has fallen apart anyway. 1, 12, and I will make the next update ourselves. This SCP-001 conference is dismissed. Addendum. An update has been added to this file by 05-8 regarding security concerns. Following the official ending of the meeting, 05-7 distributed the summary of all information exchanged with Marshall, Carter, and Dark. The information was pulled from the out-of-date 05 dossier. The current explanation as to why it was accepted by the group of interest is that it would have confirmed any information they had gathered previously about the 05 Council. As part of the exchange, we have received a tip as to where to find more information on SCP-001, which the Origins team will investigate for the next conference. 05-7 later clarified in a written statement that she had left the meeting simply to retrieve the file detailing this information, since it was not on her person. 05-7 insisted that she does not need an interpreter due to information security concerns. A discussion was scheduled between her and 05-1 to reduce communicational issues at a later date. 05-11 issued a formal apology. I hope that this will be a cessation of any internal conflicts. We are working together, and therefore require that a trusting relationship has been established between all members. As Abraham Lincoln once said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." 05-12 was appointed to the position of archivist, and after several months passed, a fourth conference was called. The following is an excerpt from this meeting. 2. Why doesn't your team start us off? Alright, sure. We did make some nice progress. Always good to start a meeting on a high note. You all remember those 4 survivors we talked about last meeting, right? We got back in touch with them and did a more thorough interview. More intense techniques, lie detector tests, heart rate monitoring, the whole shebang. Do you have transcripts? I do, but spoiler alert, they're not very different from the first round. So we're now convinced they genuinely don't remember. How far does 13's anti-mimetic side reach? Slow down there, we're not quite done. You see, as part of our second round of interviews, we also did a physical examination and some tests to see what messed with their heads. And we found they all had a little scar right on the side of their necks, right where we inject amnestics. I mean, while I understand what you're implying, we tend to administer amnestics fairly liberally. Last meeting was essentially just a prolonged reminder of how much we value InfoSec. True, but we keep good records of who we use with that stuff, how much we're using, if we're using the pills or the syringe, etc., etc. However, when I went to look up if any of our survivors had ever taken the injectable amnestic, all my results came back negative. I also took the liberty of checking out Red Right Hand. The entire squad's got injection scars and we rarely wipe those guys. Whatever happened, I think we covered it up ourselves. When you say ourselves, do you mean... Oh, no. I just mean the Foundation. If we were actually involved, then everyone here would have those scars, but 6, 9, and I definitely don't have them. So that leads me to believe they didn't drug us. It would be an all-or-nothing deal. Good work. Sounds like 8 needs to have a talk with our amnestics department. Wait. Sorry. I'm still trying to keep all the details in order. You said that they were injected? Yes. See, that's what I don't get. We used the injections like 10 years ago. We moved on to the pills since you can miss a vein. Also, I checked our amnestic supply right after the Caesar event, and we didn't see any variation from our normal usage. Maybe the records are off. We found that whatever 13 did, he's good at covering up his tracks. I don't think that's it, because you know who does still use those injectable amnestics? The GOC. I see. We'll have to schedule another meeting with our good friends at the UN as well. After discussing potential origins for SCP-001, the Council moved on to the subject of O5-13's anomalous properties. The anomalous properties team presented their findings. Okay, so everyone here has the records of our measurements. Also, I can tell you now, they are not particularly insightful. Do you have too many leads to choose from? Well, quite the opposite, actually. We have nothing. Nothing abnormal with regard to radiation, Humes, radio frequencies. 13 is almost impressively normal. Are you sure we're not going about this wrong? I mean, I know we've kind of quantified some of our anomalies in the past, but as a general rule, they're not supposed to follow the rules, right? That is what I was beginning to suspect, although it is troubling that he can just hide it from us entirely. Or there is the other option. We're not only barking up the wrong tree, but we're in the entirely wrong forest. You're saying he's not even anomalous in the first place? It's either that, or we're dealing with a god. And a god who knows the Foundation better than even we do. Let's continue to discuss the non-anomalous option, since it appears that there would be very little we could do about the other case. So that would mean he's probably an inside man for the insurgency. Or the Serpent's Hand. Nine, not the Hand. They don't operate like this. He might be a fittest fanatic. That too. Or maybe he's with someone else. We've seen quite a bit of the GOC and UIU popping up in this. My apologies, but I do find it difficult to believe that a single insurgent would be able to detonate the on-site nuclear warhead from halfway across the globe, if we believe our previous information. I'm not so sure we can, though. It sounds like he spoke to a regular body double. Maybe his anomalous properties that he can create body doubles? But what are we supposed to do with that? Excuse me, I'd like to return to the earlier line of discussion about 13 being unable to perform the assassination due to possibly meeting with our point of contact. Because I'm beginning to believe that he actually did meet with 13. So, you believe he was able to blow Site-01 sky high from halfway across the globe? I mean, if we're going with the God theory, I could see it. No, I'm saying he had help. Or at least more than one man helping him. Remember how our request to install additional security cameras was denied by the Ethics Committee? You finally talked to them. I did. I met with Mr. Huang to demand an explanation. He refused and told me it was above my security clearance. Above your security clearance? You're on the goddamn council. There simply aren't things outside of your jurisdiction. You run the Ethics Committee, for God's sakes. That's not quite accurate. I'm not in charge of the Ethics Committee. I'm simply the O5 ambassador to it. They need to be a separate entity to eliminate bias in various cases. So you believe that 13 is in league with the Ethics Committee? Or the Administrator if it's set above your security clearance? Or both? Whoever it is, they're trying very hard to stop us from seeing him in private. Someone should just let us give him a full physical. He's probably baseline. This would let us confirm that. Yeah, but if we're wrong and our God theory is correct, he'll blow our asses sky high like the last council. I believe we need to adjourn here, so we have enough time to prepare for our next full council meeting to avoid suspicion. Although we do not need to expand our search further, I will consider speaking to 13 before the next conference, but I will only do so if I believe it will not result in a second Caesar incident. Are there any objections to this? The council fell silent. Then I believe this conference is dismissed. Alert. Retina scan confirmed. Identity verified. Your credentials have been accepted and further access has been granted. Welcome, 05-13. You have one new message. Hello, 13. I'm sure you've been keeping tabs on your fellow council's progress. They're growing closer than either of us wanted, but I'm not surprised. When you get enough smart people together, they tend to surpass your expectations. You're probably hoping this is going to end soon. I'm sorry you've gone through this. It obviously wasn't in our plan for you when we inducted you into the council. But if you could keep up our gambit a little longer, I would be appreciative. I'm unconvinced your cohorts are ready to know what happened to their predecessors, and I don't want to ask Alfine and Johnson to help clean up another May 13th. I don't even want the thought of pulling a Caesar event in their heads. The GOC and the UIU already have enough dangling over my head as is. But if they do approach you and confront you about the situation, I'd rather you have a direct answer. Also, transcripts tend to be more convincing than recall. I've attached here the transcript from the O5 meeting before the Caesar incident. It's part of the last-minute backup that Site-01 performed as part of Stage 3 containment breach protocols. If anyone asks where those backups are stored, you can tell them the same thing I told you. It's beyond their clearance. Love, the Administrator. O5-1 was present in the O5 Council conference room. He was working at a laptop in front of him, beside which sat a cup of coffee. A message flashed up on his screen reading, "Access granted. You have 5 minutes to complete an action before the session automatically shuts down." He grumbled to himself, irritated. 2 minutes passed before the remaining council members except for O5-13 entered the room. "You're all here, great. I wouldn't want one of you to be off-site for this." "Juan, what's this about? I know you've been going through a phase lately, but emergency meetings demand a real emergency." "Oh, it's an emergency, all right." "Then spit it out. We have a breach, new XK level threat?" "No. It's more of something under 2's jurisdiction. We have an internal affairs issue." O5-1 motioned to the coffee. "One of you bastards thought I would actually drink this." "Someone didn't give you enough sugar?" "No. Too much arsenic." Another message flashed up on the computer reading, "You have 3 minutes to complete an action before the session automatically shuts down." "Do you want to finish with that?" "That pain in the ass can be patient." Wait. You think one of us tried to kill you with your coffee? Oh, don't act like that's below you. I know you've all been out to bury my ass. One, calm down. I know we've had our differences, but... But what? It's not like this is the first time one of you has tried to destroy me. I know you all once tried to infiltrate one of my transports. Infiltrate? He was assigned to fill in for... It's no use, Five. The man can't think straight anymore. Oh, really? Who's the one here with his head so far up Marshall's ass he can taste the caviar? You're accusing me of selling out? No, I'm accusing all of you of selling out or being out for yourself or some nonsense. You've all gone soft. It used to be, if it doesn't make sense, throw it in a cage. Now it's, let's measure it, look at it, figure out what it is, then make sure it doesn't bother anyone. That's not containment. That's sitting idly and hoping the public doesn't find it. My God, we've started outsourcing to pet shelters. You know, if this is a problem, we can just calm down and rethink our stances on a few things. That won't change anything. Half of you are under someone's thumb and the other half of you are so messed up you need a cell of your own. Says the man who suggested we drink from the fountain of youth. Well, Seven, you're right. I'm about as far from baseline as the rest of you. Like, goddammit, anomalies are essentially running this organization. The computer chimed in saying, you have 2 minutes to complete an action before the session automatically shuts down. Shut up, goddammit! We're getting off topic. You said someone poisoned you. What about 13? He's not even here. That's because I sent him to talk to nobody. What? Why?
Because he's the only one I trust. He's the only one I don't need to have this chat with. He's the only normal person on this whole goddamn council. We plucked him off the streets and just started asking him, do you think this is weird? I'm not worried about someone whose movements we've been able to monitor since he came out of the uterus. You freaks. I don't know what you all did before you showed up here. For all I know, you're just eldritch abominations waiting for the chance to kill me dead.
One, slow down. They were so wrapped up in their argument, they barely noticed the computer saying, you have 1 minute to complete an action before the session automatically shuts down.
And you know what? We've always been pretty liberal with containing anomalies. Now we might have 12 of them on the council. 1! What? Your session, just finish it already. It's distracting as all hell. You know, you're right. I should just finish it already. There's not much more for me to do.
O5-1 resumed his work at the computer, aside from containing you, like the inhuman aberrations you are. But it was a little too late for that. The computer, which had been allowed to time out, said, Emergency Stage 3 Containment Breach Protocol activated. The on-site nuclear warhead will detonate in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This concludes the file on SCP-001. It appears that in a place dedicated to studying the strange and unusual, where the bizarre and anomalous have become the pedestrian, the usual, just another day at the office, the most notable thing a person can be is completely average. When the impossible becomes possible, when you and everyone around you are the furthest thing from normal, the ordinary is the stuff of nightmares.